Hello, my wonderful Coldplay fam. Today we have some huge updates coming your way, including some things that happened this past weekend in Spain that honestly just opened the door to so many theories that we've had over the past few months. Now, before we get started, you know that I'm going to be here to keep you updated on all things Coldplay, so if you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and sit back and relax because we got some wild news to discuss today. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so starting things off, going back to Friday, July 9th, these lovely Twitter users were in the vicinity of the filming of Coldplay's newest video in Barcelona, Spain. Now, it was really cool because they were able to provide some images of Kaotican graffiti on buildings and even a little bit of a behind the scenes look at the making of the video. But soon after, something kind of crazy happened. While in the area of the recording, those Twitter users stumbled upon sheets of paper that included new alien languages. And we can tell from some of the evidence that there are 10 new languages, but as of right now, I only know the names of 8 of them. There's Aquamarine, Supersolar, Coloraturan, Infinitum, MOTS Neon, Bloom, Spheric, and Kubic. And of course, the widely accepted belief after seeing all these languages is that they most likely correspond to a planet and then further correspond to a song. Just like how we have Kaotican that comes from Kaotica and the planet is related to higher power. And further, it's also pretty much accepted that these new planets would likely be the ones that we saw back in May when we saw Coldplay perform Higher Power on American Idol. Now, just to dig into this theory a little deeper, there's a new language called Kubic. And I mean, who could forget that Kubic planet that we saw during the American Idol performance? There's also a language called Infinitum, which of course would then correspond to the infinity-shaped planet. Previously, we didn't know if this was a planet or not, but I'm pretty sure this then confirms that this is in fact a planet. And just one more, there was a language found called MOTS Neon, or Music of the Spheres Neon. Not long ago, there was an audio clip found from Clubhouse with a song about a moon, and a lot of people referred to it as Neon Moon. So I would speculate that this could correspond to the planet with the moon. Now, another thing that popped out to me was the language Coloraturan, because of what we discussed in the previous video about Phil tweeting the presumed planets Coloraturan and Epiphany. So if there's a Coloraturan, there's likely to be an Epiphanan? So altogether we have Aquamarine, Supersolar, Coloraturan, Epiphanan, Infinitum, MOTS Neon, Bloom, Spheric, Kubic, and of course Kaotican. So if there are 11 planets, that means that I'm missing one. So if you have any ideas about the one I missed, feel free to leave a comment below letting me know your thoughts. So now let's take some time and look at these sheets of paper. First off, we have this one that shows that there are 11 languages, including Kaotican, all of which are spelling out Coldplay. So from this image, we can at least tell which symbols stand for COLDPLANY. Also from this, we can note things like this geometric looking one, which most likely is the language Kubic and related to the cube planet. Now let's look at another sheet that shows us the breakdown of a specific language. In this one, Supersolar, we see it's separated into 3 sections. The top one being the individual characters that represent each letter in the alphabet, the middle being numbers, and the bottom punctuation. Now, if you notice on the top line, it appears that there are 28 characters as opposed to 26 characters in the English alphabet. But looking a little closer, we can see that there is a symbol that appears to signify the end of a line, and since it repeats, that would make 26 characters. But I noticed something a little strange, because all the letters from that first sheet, including the C, O, L, D, P, and A, all fit the line. But the Y, for some reason, doesn't. The Y in this case is the last letter instead of Z. Now, I'm not sure exactly why this is. Wait, why? But this is actually seen on all of the sheets where the Y is the last letter instead of a Z. Now, I don't think this is really important, but I thought I would just mention it in case anyone has a thought on the matter. And the last thing that I wanted to note about these individual sheets is at the bottom where it says the name of the language. So if you're wondering how we knew the names of the languages, this is how. Now, this next sheet is a little crazy and definitely solidifies some ideas that I've been super confident about in the past. In this sheet right here, we see the languages spelling out words including love, music, peace, and BTS. So this is probably the last time I'm going to mention this as a speculation because it's basically confirmed now. Okay, not technically confirmed, but honestly, you can't get any closer than this. But we absolutely need to talk about them real quick, because just around the same time the news was breaking about the languages, we got word that Coldplay will be performing a concert alongside BTS. The concert is called Music Day 2021 and it will be taking place on July 17th. Now I'm not totally sure about the streaming details, but if I find more information, I'll definitely include that in a pinned comment below this video. I did, however, find a link that I'll include in the description, but I'm not really sure if that's a site the concert will be streamed on or not. But regardless, I do know that the show will be held on a Japanese TV station called TBS. So of course the big question about this performance is, are we gonna see a new song? Now, if I were to make a guess, I think it's pretty likely that we're gonna get this BTS Coldplay collab in this show. Now, if you remember what we discussed in last video, Phil mentioned that we're gonna get a new song somewhere around the 20th, and with the show being on the 17th, I could see how this would make sense. The only weird part about it is that he said we're gonna get the new song via alien radio. So, with all this in mind, I think it's possible that we just get a tease of the new song via alien radio, and then come the 17th, we actually get the full song. But if that's true, that would mean that we're getting the tease for the song within the next few days. Now, I'm not super confident about this theory, but just in case, definitely keep your attention on Alien Radio to see if anything new pops up in the next few days. And if you haven't been on there recently, they've added a version of higher power to the frequency 9090. And if you remember from before, there was a frequency around 9055 that gave us a bizarre code at the bottom of the screen. So perhaps there's something special with the frequency starting with 90. And if you're looking for a place to start, this is probably where I'd start my search. Now, speaking of that code that was found at 9055 several months ago, it's interesting because the new alien language Infinitum looks oddly similar to that code. Now, I'm not quite sure they're related because out of all the languages, I think Infinitum by far is the hardest to read, but if you're looking for a theory to dive into, there might be something there. And now I just wanted to take a moment to answer some questions that you might have. First off, when the news about the new alien language broke, one of the big questions I had was, why are there sheets of secret Coldplay things just lying around for anyone to find? And the theory behind this is that the sheets were intended for the graffiti artists as a guide for how the languages look. Specifically, this sheet spells out words that you can see on the buildings, like how you can see the first part of heart, peace here, and in this image, you can clearly see love and Coldplay. So if I were to guess, these sheets were likely for the graffiti artists. But the big question revolving around this finding is, was this an accident? Now, due to the reaction we saw from Phil policing info that was spread out about the new languages, a lot of people think that it was a mistake. And I think Phil may have even mentioned somewhere that it was, but honestly, I don't think it was. I kind of think these were intentionally left out for diehard fans to find as a way to keep things fresh and exciting. And if that was their intention, I think it worked pretty well. You had so many people in the community getting excited that there was new languages and planets and potential new songs. So to me, it just makes more sense that they were planted and left out intentionally. And I know that ultimately it doesn't really matter what happened because the word got out anyway, but I think that Coldplay has always been super intentional about everything they do. And this was just kind of one of those publicity things. Now, real quick, while we're on the subject of graffiti again, I just wanted to point out how this, to me, is kind of another blatant nod to Mylo's Zalotto. If you've ever read the comics or even heard about them, you know that the story revolves around Mylo, whose life has changed when coming in contact with musical graffiti. Not to mention the whole aesthetic of the music video for Every Teardrop is a Waterfall was graffiti and paint. Now, I say this almost every video that this new album is seeming more and more like Mylo 2.0, and honestly, I couldn't be more excited about that. Now, moving on to another question that you might have, are the names of the languages song titles? And to this, I'd say probably not. For example, with higher power, the language that corresponds to that is called Kaotican and not something related to higher power. So I don't think the language names are song titles. And the only thing that I think might be kind of close is MOTS Neon, which is very similar to the presumed song Neon Moon. And lastly, if you're wondering about being able to see the Coldplay show on the 17th with BTS, the time for that is 2 p.m. to 9:54 p.m. KST, which is 1 a.m. Eastern to 8:54 a.m. And you bet I'm going to definitely stay up if there is a way to watch that and stream that here. And again, if I find any more info on streaming, I'll definitely add it to a pinned comment. As far as I know, it might be streamed on that website that I included in the description, but I'm not totally positive about that. And of course, I'll definitely be tweeting about it too, so make sure you're following me on Twitter for the most real-time updates. And that is everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. Lots of crazy exciting news, and I hope you enjoyed all of it. Of course, if you haven't done so yet, I would encourage you to please subscribe. It takes quite a bit of time to put these updates together, so if you wouldn't mind giving this video a like and a comment too, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.